Good afternoon, Anne Arundel County. Good afternoon, America. Welcome to Promoting Community, Conversation, and Discovery. I'm your host, Anthony Bynum. The name of our production company is the Glen Burnie Players. These are exciting times here in Anne Arundel County. They've been warm. We might get some rain this weekend. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. Well, everyone, again, we have an exciting show today. But first, we have a couple announcements to start off with upcoming events. Yes, it is a time for plays. And I'm going to announce a couple of them. So this weekend, starting the 25th through the 26th, it's Madagascar's A Musical Adventure. And this is playing at the Children's Theater in Annapolis. You might want to check times and cost for that one. And we have Narnia, the musical. It's playing at the Pasadena Theater, 7/26 through the 28th. Again, you want to check times for that one. Okay, we want to do a shout out for our affiliates. These are the people who run community conversation and discovery. Let's start off with AAC TV here in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Thank you for airing our show. Greenbelt Cable Access in PG County. Thank you for airing our shows. Brunswick TV3 in Maine. Thank you for running our shows and airing our shows. Manhattan Neighborhood Network in the Big Apple. Thank you for airing and running our shows. And also Amherst Media in Amherst, Massachusetts. Thank you for running and airing our shows. We want to thank our references because we can't do the show without you. So, folks like Wikipedia, Google Images. I've been looking at some things on Facebook recently, and they've been helping me out. And of course, our underwriting/sponsor, that's the Cleaning Chef. More information is available about them and their services in our credits. Now, most admired. I love these hidden gems. I love these hidden gems, and I've been finding them on Facebook lately. And this woman is another example of just that. So let's go to the share. So we're going to talk about the first recorded Black missionary. Her name, Betsy Stockton. She was born in 1798. She died 1865, both in Princeton, New Jersey. She was an American educator and missionary. Now, Betsy was born into slavery. Okay, so up in New Jersey, when the slavery apparently had not been abolished because she was a slave, little girl. But she was eventually emancipated and became a Christian missionary. And her biggest assignment was Hawaii. Now, she grew up in the household of Reverend Ashabel Green, who happened to be the president of Princeton University. Now, when his daughter, married, he bequeathed Betsy to the daughter, but apparently things didn't quite work out very well there. At some point, the daughter sent Betsy away, only for her to come back. And I have a feeling that the daughter kind of lost interest because at some point, while Betsy was still fairly young, probably in her teens, uh, the president of Princeton, this Reverend Ashabel Green, uh, you know, probably kind of tutored her a little bit, maybe even helped her to learn how to read. And once that door opened, she said she will never let it close. See, this guy had a library, and when she started reading, she just sucked in. She read as many books as she could. It's incredible. She was just like a computer, reading books and learning and learning and learning. In fact, she attended evening classes at Princeton. Okay. Um, by 1815, now she's still a young girl, she's just 17 years old. She was granted her freedom by the Greens. The Reverend Green just said, I can't do this anymore. But she stayed on with them as a servant and continued to read, continued to learn. She had a vision. She wanted to be a missionary. She wanted to go to Africa. Wow. Now she heard of a friend of the Greens who was going to go to a place called the Sandwich Islands that later became Hawaii. She asked to go, and she was commissioned as a missionary. First one, number one. Wow. She was a teacher at the first missionary school, someplace in Hawaii. She taught English, Latin, and algebra. So she was smart in math too. I mean, she was smart in math too. Somewhere I saw something about her meeting the Queen of Hawaii, the last queen, but that's not covered in this material. Um, by 1830, so she's 32 years old. She was globetrotting. She was now teaching what we would call indigenous people in Canada, in a place called Grape Island. She actually ended up teaching at a colored school at some point. It's not quite clear on where that was. Um, by 1865, October, she would have lived to see emancipation for all the states. But I have a thought here. She was such a learned person. She must have seen about there were three major issues all brewing at the same time. Yes, obviously abolition was one of them, but there was also prohibition, a movement to stop alcohol because it was ruining so many lives. And the other one, woman's suffrage, the right to vote. She had to know about all of these. How could an educated person not know about them? They all took a life of their own. And if the country could only handle one at a time, it made sense to handle abolition, the freedom of all Americans. For all these reasons, Betsy Stockton, you are our most admired. Our hats are off to you. Another great person. Another great American. Now, we want to talk about something of consequence regarding Arundel County. We're going to talk about a restaurant, business, family-owned business called Romano's Bar and Grill. And I said, this key is it's a family-owned business. I did a little research on the little bit that I could find. This family has been known to own a number of different establishments, like restaurants. They're one of the top 10 spots for crab cakes, according to some magazine. Full drive-in. They got lunch, carry out. They got an NFL happy hour. And most importantly, the family-owned. I think it's fantastic. They have a nice looking place too. Very nice looking. I'm not going to go to the site right now because what happens if you go to the site, it takes out everything else you programmed in before. So I'm not going to do that. But it's a very nice building. Got a picture of like a soldier, soldier from Troy, a Greek soldier from many years ago. Okay, we're going to move in a different direction. This week we saw the loss of four great men in their own different ways. They all made a mark on society as a whole. I got an email text from one of my line brothers, my fraternity brothers, saying that if we did not know, Malcolm Jamal Warner passed away. And my response was, that's terrible. He grew up right in front of our eyes. So Malcolm Jamal Warner, who never heard a bad thing about, never heard a bad thing about this guy, did grow up right in front of our eyes. That first spot, 13, 14 years old, as actor, as a young uh, kid named Theo Huxtable. Now, he may or may not have been the first young black male actor. Television, there was a lot in the 80s. Before then, there really hadn't been any, quite frankly. And what I always enjoyed about his role, he wasn't a scene stealer, right? The Huxtables were very even keeled. They had nice humor. It was more about your feeling. There was some knockdown, drag out laughs. Mostly it was just entertaining because you felt good, because that's what Bill Cosby wanted. That's what the producers wanted, you to feel good. What I like the most about his character, Theo, is that he was not brilliant. Things came very hard to him and he had to try harder. That's real. That's real life. I've always had to try harder, and quite frankly, I haven't always got it. I like that about his character. He was a real type of person. It's a shame, he was a young man, 54 years old. He was young. Like I said, he grew up right in front of us. And he was on family vacation with with a family, and I guess he was trying to swim in some waters that were tougher to swim than they realized. And his daughter, they almost lost her too. Um, but it's just sad how he sliced it. It's just sad. He did a lot of different things in different projects. Uh, Other than the Cosby Show, the one that I remember the most is he was in the movie Red Tails, which was the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. He was one of the pilots. Um, I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed it a lot. So there was another individual, great musician, who passed away. We have two musicians we're going to cover. The first one is in the jazz world. His name, Chuck Mangione. Now, he lived longer. He died at the age of 84. He grew up in Rochester. I'm not sure he may have died in Rochester too. Um, Little story about Chuck. He grew up in a house full of musicians. His father was a musician. His brother was a musician. His brother played in the band with him. Um, his father was a friend of Dizzy Gillespie, the great trumpet player, came out of the bebop era, the guy with the giant cheeks. So every time uh, Dizzy was in town, Rochester, and Rochester may have been a great jazz town, I don't know. His father made sure he stayed at the house. Made sure he stayed at the house, and had a chance to teach young Chuck a thing or two. Dizzy probably said, "You know what? Now you're my son." The big song he played for years and years and years. He's a jazz guy, but great crossover hit. And this is almost unheard of. Okay, feels so good because there's an instrumental, but it felt so good that I think it was 77, 78. It was all over the radio stations back when, one era could dominate. He knew a lot of guys now, you know. He played with guys like Art Blakely and Woody Herman in the 60s. So he as a young man, Maynard Ferguson. Um, just, it's always sad. No one really knows. No one really knows. Now there's someone else I want to talk about also. This gentleman's name was Ozzy Osbourne. See, when Ozzy came around, and I remember again, it was the 80s. Um, we thought we'd heard everything there was to hear. But rock and roll had been around since, the 60s. Hard rock started sometime in the late 60s. But they created something new. Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, they created something new. Speed metal, playing hard rock super fast. When I first heard it in my high school days, I didn't quite get it, to be honest with you. But, he struck a nerve because those kids I went to high school with up there in Goffstown, New Hampshire, they dug this guy. And he was a storyteller. He was just telling slightly different types of stories, stories with edge. I mean, every year, Iron Man is leased to a movie. Every year. Crazy Train. He has some good songs, and he still got played on the radio. He has a loyal, loyal fan base. And the greatest part of his story is he'd been ailing for a while, but he did a farewell tour. Just ended a couple months ago. So they talk about a guy doing it his way. Talk about a guy doing it his way. You would always hear these stories about crazy things that went on stage. Maybe they happened, maybe they didn't. Maybe something happened with a bat, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But it appealed to that audience of his. It certainly did. One more guy I want to talk about. His name is Hulk Hogan. Now it's not his real name, that was his stage name. His name is actually Terry Gene Borella. Bolella. Um, he's a big guy. I can't imagine him not playing football. He's like 6'7", huge. But by the time he came to my attention, I had grown out of the whole wrestling thing. I didn't really watch it in those times. I know they had a cage match and he carried the sport for a while. But when I think of Hulk Hogan, it's actually from a different event. You see, my senior year in high school, some of us who enjoyed media were fortunate enough that the high school created a class for media, okay, because people dug it. Radio, TV is very sexy, it just is, you know? And Michael Naismith, who was a guitar player for the Monkees, was trying to sell a new product in the media world. It's called the video album, where as opposed to one song, there's always videos with every song. Everybody knew that. They've been around for a long time. You could argue Cab Calloway was doing them back on the board. You could argue that if you wanted to. Of course, the Beatles made a big deal with it. There was this, and the whole idea was that, you know, all these songs would be related and you'd have videos to each song. That was the idea. So I saw a song. It was called Lucy and Ramona. And it was about two girls on Venice, California, Venice Beach, who roller skate all day. And one was black, one white. They were very cute. And they would just go on being cute. And sometimes they would rub people a little wrong way. You could tell it in the action of the actors. But that's where Hulk Hogan came in, because the words of the song actually were Lucy and Ramona and their brother Sunset Sam. Once Hulk Hogan showed up, nobody wanted to mess with Hulk Hogan. He was a big dude. He was a big dude. And he carried the sport. You know, wrestling it's just theater. That's all it really is. It's theater. You know, what are you gonna do? You got the people's attention. You're right there. Everyone's looking at you. What are you gonna do? Yeah, Hulk Hogan. So all four of these guys made their mark. So I thought it was appropriate. I'm gonna stop the share now. I thought it was appropriate to kind of come up with something to kind of commemorate uh, all of their greatness. And this is called, it's a poem. It was written by a Ramison T.A., or probably T.A. Ramison, probably. And it's called The Greatest Loss for Humanity. And I'm going to read it to you. The minds of good people is the greatest loss for humanity. As long as they are, good people are utilized for all multi-purpose activities by many in the world. But when they die soon, will funds sent in their names to charity homes be any compensation for the loss ever? Such rare personalities never again be seen in the world. And God's punishment it is God's punishment to society, as they have failed to honor and take care of them when they were alive here. Feel the much grieved souls who were near them for long, but could not do anything to save them from death at all. Ordinary good humans, what can they do to critical condition? Good hearts at the last minute of life in the world ever? Is it God's will for the good souls to suffer in this world till they die soon, so that elimination of good ones further would make it easy for him to finish off all in a single stroke? What a justice this is, I wonder, and broad much to the loss, broad much for the loss of dear ones, so one by one, before I get my turn to leave this world for the better of the other world, if there is one. According to religions and stories we have been hearing from the childhood onward since a long time, generation after generation, a greatest loss for humanity. Wow, that's pretty powerful. Well, a lot going on in Arundel County, that's for sure. That's for sure. We've been working on some media ideas. I announced last week that the adventures. I announced two things. One, the Adventures of Auerbach was sent out for post-production work, more for scoring. So we're getting close on that one. Pretty excited about that. But also we have a new one. It's called The Birth of We Do. And this is a animated, completely animated story. It combines Asian mythology with Norseman mythology and the samurai. And that's going to be a serial. So we're going to see some more of those. In fact, we're going to be putting together a new YouTube channel just for animated specials. So for everyone here at the Glen Burnie Players, again, my name is Anthony Bynum. Until next time, Bye bye.